Well, thank you all for turning out. And again, the point I want to make is a couple of things. First of all, this is an issue that we're hearing from you, the media, as I mentioned earlier. Google stories concerning the crisis that we're having at Thanksgiving regarding food prices. All of you all are reporting it, big publications, small publications. We're hearing it from our constituents at home. We're hearing it from our food banks. We're seeing it in the government statistics that are coming out. Inflation is at a 30-year plus high. So as a result, we've got to come up with some solutions. And the solution is not blaming the people that deliver it, the truck drivers. It's not blaming the stores. It's not blaming our farmers. In my case, I feel like we need to blame the administration because we're simply not seeing any leadership in getting these significant problems solved. And as Senator Marshall said, this is it's a huge problem for people on fixed incomes. It's a huge problem for single parents, people that are struggling to begin with. And then we could also talk about the fact that energy prices are going to raise 30% this year. What does that do to a senior that's struggling on a $1,200 Social Security check? Not only are their food costs going to go up this Thanksgiving, but again, their ability to keep warm. So be glad to answer any questions, any easy questions. Yes?
Senator, trade was mentioned a little bit, and I'm wondering, to ease inflation, are you supportive of the U.S. lifting some tariffs on Chinese goods?
I think it depends. President Trump got tough on the Chinese. As a result of that, because of the fact that they don't play by the rules, institute tariffs, we're actually having a significant increase in buying power for our farmers and such. That's been really good for our farm community and made it such that commodity prices have gone up some so that they can actually, go forward and them be not impacted so much like they were.
I'd add, as a general rule, we like lower tariffs, but we've got to have fair trade. So we want free trade. We want more trade. That benefits everybody. But it's got to be on a fair basis. And remember, those tariffs, in the case of the Chinese, were to force them to treat us fairly. And it's working. It's working. You see what the exports are now into the Chinese market. So again, we want lower tariffs, right? Fewer trade barriers, both tariff and non-tariff trade barriers. But other countries got to play fair. They can't take advantage of us. And they've been doing that.
We have to have the ability for those products to come in, but likewise we have to have a fair playing field so that our products can go out, and it's actually much fairer than it was a few years ago. Yes, sir.
Talk about solutions for inflation. I'm curious, what are your proposed solutions to deal with inflation?
Well, one thing you don't do is you don't come into office and eliminate the Keystone Pipeline. That oil, instead of being piped, is being brought by truck and rail, things like that. That makes no sense. You don't eliminate drilling on public lands. All of that is raising the price of fuel, which is such a undercurrent of inflation. So I think policies like that. The other thing is we need to address this much like we did the vaccine. We can be so very proud that we as a nation, put our might towards developing the vaccine in such a short period of time. This is a national emergency, and instead of blaming others, we need to concentrate as a Congress. We need to concentrate as an administration to provide some relief. And I'm not seeing any evidence of that at all. I'm ranking on agriculture. We're not dealing with this problem. And on appropriations, several other committees. Again, this is something that the tendency is to blame others, is to come up with real solutions.
And a little more broadly, the former president has put out a slew of statements recently criticizing leader Mitch McConnell. I'm curious if either of you have issues with McConnell's leadership, or if you continue to.
I'm not familiar with what he said. Yes, sir.
Leader Schumer says that Build Back Better programs will help combat inflation. What are your thoughts on his saying that what the Jim spending bill will actually help inflation?
I think that goes contrary to every economic rule that there is. The country right now is awash with money. As I go around Arkansas and go around throughout the country, our cities, our counties, our states, have, enormous sums of money that they're trying to get spent. Along with that, we had the $1.9 trillion spending bill, which incidentally had no Republican input at all, no hearings as to whether or not that was going to be beneficial or not beneficial. And now we're looking at 1.75, which probably is much closer to 4 than 2, okay? So as a result of that, I think that is going to be very, very inflationary and really just put gasoline on top of the fire.
Yeah, I think that's the point you heard everybody making up here, is it makes the problem worse. It will increase inflation, and it will be a de facto tax on everybody, including low-income people, as they buy all these things, whether it's food or energy or anything else. That's the very point we're making.
And the other thing about that, again, that's not coming just from a Republican. When you read the mainstream economics folks, I think they would concur with what John and I just said. These are simple truths. Yes, sir.
Could you further describe the labor situation in Arkansas? And could you, secondly, would you encourage employers to raise wages and improve their health care benefits offerings to workers, or improve, the offerings to their employees?
Well, wage, as I go around Arkansas, it doesn't matter if I'm in the biggest city or the smallest city in Arkansas, the first thing that comes up is labor. To the point that many businesses are actually restricting the hours that they're open because they can't find help. Others, you go in and you're in a restaurant, a convenience store, whatever, you immediately realize, because of the lines, because of the waits and things, that they're running very, very short-staffed. So it is a huge issue. Regarding wages are coming up dramatically. I think health care benefits also, all of the things that you need to attract people to work for you is happening, in a substantial way. So I think that's, but it is that and the supply chain, which is labor related. Also, I was with a trucker the other day. He said that he had 30 trucks that were sitting idly because they can't find parts. Again, what does that do to the supply chain? John?
No, I think that's right on. Look, the way you improve wages and benefits is you have a growing economy, and then the demand for labor is what makes that happen, not more government programs that create the very problems with supply chain that we're talking about. So again, that's the problem. This is too much government, too much tax and spend, which is being pushed by the administration and Democrats in Congress. That exacerbates the very problems that we're talking about, including getting more people into the workforce and working and providing those goods and services.
Yeah. If we could solve or remedy somewhat the labor situation and the supply chain, I think that the economy is poised to just roar, to come back. But this is really putting a wet blanket on everything. One more. Yes, ma'am.
I was just wondering if you or the party had any concrete plans to incentivize workers to help them get back in the workforce.
Well, I think that I don't know that we will be the ones that are incentivizing, but I think businesses themselves are coming up with those things to do all they can to get. I think that's really where it needs to come from, is the businesses themselves providing incentives. And I think that's coming, but it is a huge problem.
The growing economy does that. That's how, if you have a growing economy, then supply and demand, that creates those better benefits. That's how it should work. The problem is too much government is getting in the way of that.
One more.
I thought you said one more.
We,
Thank you, Chairman. Just wondering if the big meat companies bear any responsibility for the higher prices that consumers are paying. I heard middlemen blame, but they should be something.
I'm glad you took this.
Well,
important question.
no, it is an important question because John's a cow-calf state, I'm a cow-calf state, and this is something that really is affecting our producers. Labor is a big part of that. A lot of these plants are running very short-handed, so they can't operate at full capacity. Other things, USDA recently came down and with the reducing line speeds, making it such that, you can't operate as quickly as you could because of, for whatever reason. They were operating very safely in that regard, so I think that's been a factor. And really the list goes on and on. So what we need to do is get more competition. USDA has been helpful in that regard. And then also the other thing is more transparency with pricing. That's the other thing that would be helpful. So we had a really good hearing in the Ag Committee regarding this, and so I think everybody really is working hard. The problem is, and this is kind of getting in the weeds, but as you start building new facilities, you're talking about $100,000 per cow slaughtered. So if you're slaughtering 10 cows a day, which is nothing, then you're talking about $1 million investment. So this is a real problem. This is one, though, that unlike some of the other things that we're talking about, we're actually working on very, very hard to come up with a solution. And again, I think two things that there is agreement throughout the industry is more competition and then also more transparency. And I think maybe looking at some of our imports as to what's going on in that area.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Very important. Too much concentration in the processing industry, no question about it. We have got to find ways to address that. And that means not only more competition, more information, more pricing transparency. We have legislation where any number of bills that we're working to do that. The administration needs to do more, both USDA and DOJ, in terms of them looking at pricing in the markets. And then we've got to find ways to get more players into the processing industry of all different sizes, right? So we're coming up with ideas and programs and concepts to get more alternatives for livestock producers to market, their cattle or hogs or whatever it may be. But yeah, this is an issue that we're working on. We need to work on it aggressively. We're starting to make some progress in terms of getting the different cattle associations looking at some of these concepts. You saw recently now Grassley and Fisher have gotten together on a bill. I like that because it takes some of the concepts that Grassley had in his 50-14 as far as cash sales, and then some of the ideas that actually Sonny Perdue brought forward that Deb Fisher now has captured. We've got the contract library in there as well. It's a bill I sponsor. So we're starting to bring some of these concepts together in a way that I hope will create a consensus where we can move some of this legislation and address this very important problem that you brought up.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate it. Thank you.